Chapter 408 Dragon King's Claw. They were inside the Great Stardo Forest's peripheral region, and there were thousands of soul beasts in this place. Almost every soul beast that had at least 100,000 years of cultivation was concentrated here, and all of them were at least 10,000 year soul beasts. Most of these soul beasts had participated in the battle not long ago, and even those who hadn't heard about the damage that the bitter and cruel fight with those humans brought to them, almost every soul beast's eyes were filled with hatred and violence. There were also many humans 1,000 meters from them on the other side. Every single elder from Shrek Academy's Sea Gods Pavilion was here. Other than them, the body sect's leader, Douluo, led the soul masters who were here to reinforce Shrek Academy. In addition to the soul sages that the three empires had deployed to reinforce Shrek, there were at least several hundred other people here. Furthermore, their individual fighting strengths were superior to the soul beasts. If the beast god Tian was taken out of the picture, it would be hard to determine who would emerge victorious if both parties erupted into battle. Ellison heaved a faint sigh of relief when he saw Huo, who naturally arrived at the same time as Tian. Quite a few people from the Tang Sect were here. Beside the elders from the Sea Gods Pavilion, Bei, Hikatu, Shu Sanchi, Jiang Nanan, and Xiao were all here. Besides them, the Earth Dragon Sect leader, Nan Shuishui was also here. Nan Qiuqiu and Yu were absent. Everybody became a little excited when they saw Huo. Huo signaled to his companions that everything was fine. Tian, is this how you host your guests? Elderson's voice travelled from far away, and every soul beast could hear him. Tian turned around and faced the humans. At least for now, you are not guests in the Great Stardo Forest. You are still our enemy. Elderson's eyes grew focused. Does that mean that you're not sincere this time? Tian answered coldly. Sincerity depends on whether your experiment is successful. What's the point of sincerity if your experiments are unsuccessful? Elderson said coldly. Tian, don't think we are afraid of you. There is an army of 100,000 soldiers gathered at Shrek City right now. We will follow you to the end if you wish to do battle. Douluo and Elderson combined could restrain Tian, even if they couldn't defeat him. The reinforcements who had arrived in Shrek City over the past 3 days were numerous enough to the point where they had the strength to meet the Great Stardo Forest head-on. Elder Tian, Elderson, please calm down. The existence of spirits is beneficial for both parties. May I conduct the experiment before we begin negotiations? Huo raised his voice and spoke as he walked over to Tian's side. Elderson's expression warmed a little when he saw Huo. The soul beasts had suffered severe losses during the war, but did Shrek Academy not suffer in similar fashion? Even though Shrek Academy's losses were relatively smaller compared to their adversaries, Shrek Academy had lost the greatest number of people in this war across the last 10,000 years. There were already more than 1,000 dead from this battle alone. Tian turned around towards Huo and nodded as he waved towards Bai Ji. Bai Ji unleashed a crisp call as various powerful soul beasts instantly stood to one side, and a group of soul beasts gradually walked out. These soul beasts could only be described as frail and infirm. Those who were severely wounded walked in front, and some of these soul beasts were carried by other soul beasts as the Emerald Swan and Herkin treated them. The soul beasts who were positioned at the back seemed very lackadaisical, and their soul power undulations were extremely weak. Evidently, their lives were about to end. Elderson gestured to the humans, and the crowd separated as the volunteers stepped out. Huo was surprised that not a single member from the Tang Sect appeared amongst these volunteers. Jiang Nanan and Xiao had recently broken through to rank 60, but they had claimed their 6th soul rings before this. The Tang Sect's other members hadn't reached a bottleneck. Nan Qiuqiu was close, but she was still one step away. However, Huo wasn't entirely unfamiliar with these volunteers. He actually saw someone he was very familiar with amongst the volunteers, Dahuobin's soul power is at rank 60 now, and he hasn't obtained a soul ring. Not just Dahuobin stepped out, Ningtian and Wu Feng were also there, and Ningtian was dressed like a man as he walked out while holding hands with Wu Feng. Wu Feng was no different from how she used to be, but her expression had become a lot gentler than before. Several other students from Shrek Academy's inner courtyard had also volunteered. Huo could name most of them, while the rest of the volunteers consisted of individuals from those who came to reinforce Shrek City. They greeted and gestured to Huo in the distance in unison as they walked out. Huo wasn't very familiar with them, but he could vaguely guess that he had probably rescued most of these people from Sunrise City, and that was the reason why they recognized him. The soul beasts and soul masters who had volunteered stepped out from their respective camps and stood at the front. Huo turned around and looked at Tian as he said calmly, Elder Tian, please attach restrictions to me, but don't hinder my circulation of soul power and spiritual power. You can give me poison if you like. Tian was momentarily stunned, but he immediately understood what Huo was trying to say. He answered plainly, no need. Go. He is worthy of being called the Beast God. Is he not afraid of me taking this opportunity to escape? Huo couldn't help but admire Tian as he stared at Tian's calm expression. This was how the strongest individual in the world carried himself. Huo didn't say anything flattering, but bowed deeply in Tian's direction before he turned around and strode towards the center of both parties. The Bear Lord frowned and said, Tian, this fellow is very slippery. What if? Shut up. Tian's calm voice was full of unquestionable majesty. The Bear Lord closed his mouth and said nothing more. His eyes were full of fury and resentment, but he didn't dare to talk back to Tian. Huo walked to the center of both sides by himself and said, please send your respective representatives out. A soul beast was delivered in front of Huo from the soul beast's camp. This soul beast was in a truly terrible situation. It was a tiger, and Huo could judge from its shape and size that it had at least 10,000 years of cultivation. However, half its body was no longer there, and if the Emerald Swans hadn't been continually supporting his life with healing soul skills, this tiger would have died a long time ago. The 100 human volunteers glanced at one another. They were a lot more anxious compared to the soul beasts, and nobody wanted to be the first brave volunteer to take this risk. In the end, nobody knew whether creating spirits would be dangerous, and they would be a lot nearer to those soul beasts if they stepped forward. If the soul beasts attacked, they would take the brunt of their assault. At this moment, a cold voice declared, let me. Someone strode out from the group of humans, and he widened his strides, arriving in front of Huo with a few leaps. A complicated look flashed across Huo's eyes when he saw this person, because this person wasn't anyone else but his half-brother. At the same time, this person was the one who had caused his mother's death, and was also his enemy. Dahuobin. Even though Dahuobin's mother was the real culprit, Dahuobin had directly caused his mother harm. Dahuobin had kicked Huo's mother when her body was already frail and weak. His mother's condition had deteriorated from there, and she couldn't be treated anymore afterwards. Huo hated the Duke's wife the most, but Dahuobin was number 2 for sure. He had suppressed this hatred deep in his heart over the years. However, his hatred began to surface as he became stronger and stronger all the way until they were inside the Yin-Yang Love Clearing Valley. Huo and Dahuobin had attempted to rescue their father in the Yin-Yang Love Clearing Valley, and had eventually saved the white tiger Douluo, Daihao. Afterwards, Dahuobin didn't hesitate to ruin his own physical appearance for Zhu, and Huo had finally developed a thread of respect for Dahuobin. However, respect was only respect in the end, and his hatred had never been dispelled. It wasn't hard to imagine how Huo was feeling as he stared at Dahuobin. From Huo's perspective, this was a great opportunity to exact revenge. As long as he was willing, he could make an accident happen when Dahuobin was assimilating with his spirit, and Huo would end his life, just like that. However, this thought only flashed once in Huo's head before he gave it up. He arrogantly told himself, one day, I will use my own identity to stride back into the Duke's mansion, and I will exact my revenge uprightly and frankly. Murdering him in the dark is shameful, and I can't bring shame to my mother. With these thoughts in mind, Huo swept away the dark shadow in his heart as he nodded in Dahuobin's direction. Dahuobin looked at him with an expression that was far better than before. You saved my father back then, and I haven't been able to thank you. Perhaps, thanking you is a little late, but I will always remember this favor. You will not be my enemy in the future. He pointed at his heart as he spoke. Huo felt his feelings ripple when he heard those words. He nodded and said, prepare yourself. After this, you have to be completely sincere and willing to fuse with the soul beast for it to become your spirit. You can't reject it in any form at all, because the process will fail otherwise. What I am about to use is an equality contract. If the fusion is successful, the soul beast will become your soul ring. I trust that you know how beneficial spirits are, so I won't explain any further. All right, come. Dalu just stood there as he relaxed his body and unleashed his martial soul. Dense black and white fur began emerging from his body, and his frame became larger and burlier. Huo turned towards the soul beast and said, I know you can understand me. This process will be the same for you. If you want to live, and if you want to allow your life to continue, then you have to follow through with this experiment. Do you understand? The tiger stared at Huo with its remaining eye and slowly nodded its head. Huo took a deep breath and said, you two have to relax at the same time. Don't reject me in any way, and I will guide you both to complete this fusion ritual. Huo released his spirit eyes as he spoke. More accurately put, his spirit eyes had transformed qualitatively into another existence after he fused with Wankyua. They were now the eyes of the Asura. An enormous rose gold vertical eye appeared behind Huo's back as 7 soul rings. White, purple, black, rose gold, and red gradually emerged and rose up. A complicated expression flashed across Dahuo's eyes when he saw Huo's 7 soul rings. He sighed inside. Seems like I will never be able to catch up to him. 7 rings. He's a soul sage now, and he's a soul sage with a 100,000-year soul ring. Even though he didn't know what had happened to Huo recently, Huo's exponential advancement dealt quite a blow to Dahuo. Huo's eyes shone with clear golden light as he gazed at the tiger. He reached over slowly with his spiritual power, and helped this soul beast condense its spiritual imprint and spiritual power before he helped adjust and regulate its blood so that it would be prepared for the contract. Huo began to guide Dahuo only when he was done with the tiger. Something unexpected happened right at this moment. The tiger's dim and lifeless single eye suddenly sparkled with fierce light as its crippled frame forcibly leapt off the ground, and it opened its mouth and bit down at Huo. Eye-catching red light shone from its body at the same time. It was triggering its own soul power, and seemed like it was going to self-destruct. It wasn't hard to imagine how powerful a 10,000-year soul beast's self-destruction would be. Furthermore, he was right next to Huo, and its intentions were very clear from his behavior. It wanted to hold Huo down before it self-destructed, and then they would die together. Unfortunately, he was up against the eye of the Asura. Huo had already realized that something was wrong when his blood began to surge inside his body. Huo's 7 soul rings switched to 5, and his 4th soul ring glowed as brilliant orange gold light sparkled. Huo slapped out with his right hand with lightning speed, and he touched the tiger's body gently before he pressed it down from midair just like that. The red light emanating from the soul beast was extinguished just like that. The tiger seemed like it had been frozen and plunked back on the ground, and it seemed to have been transformed into a statue. It didn't move an inch at all. The Snow Empress 3 ultimate techniques, Snowless Glacier. Before, Huo had to expend a lot of soul power and had to concentrate all his energy to unleash this attack. In this moment, Huo used Snowless Glacier easily and casually, and everything seemed to smooth like rolling clouds and flowing water. He wasn't hindered at all. Bastard. He wants to take this chance to kill my kin. The bear lord howled furiously as his body instantly enlarged, and he prepared to pounce at Huo. Right at this moment, an incredibly dignified voice that was accompanied by terrifying soul power erupted from the beast god. Let me see who dares to move. Titian soared into the air as he spoke, and he turned a half round in the sky and arrived in front of the bear lord. His eyes were entirely golden as he raised his right hand, and purplish gold flames burned as Titian grabbed the bear lord's dark golden terraclaw, which he was swinging at Huo. The king of the dark golden terraclaw bears possessed almost unrivaled strength, and his claws were razor sharp, but his claws couldn't move a single inch in Titian's iron-like grip. The bear lord howled. Titian, you still want to protect that human at a time like this? He killed our kin. Titian stared at him coldly and said, you have challenged me time and time again, bear lord. Do you actually think that I don't dare to kill you? Even if you want to challenge me, you should be smarter about it. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. The purplish gold flames on Titian's hand became stronger as he spoke. Similar purplish gold flames began burning on his body at the same time, and he pressed the bear lord down from the sky just like that. The indignation in the bear lord's eyes became fear. He had always been known for his strength, but in this moment, the strength that was coming from Titian's single hand was so strong that the bear lord couldn't resist him at all. Titian raised his other hand, which began to transform as he raised it up. His human hand became a dragon claw, dark as the night. However, that dragon claw looked like oblivion in the bear lord's eyes as a trembling fear from deep within his heart surfaced. He could clearly feel that this dragon claw was a frightening existence that could take his life. This was the Dragon King's claw. The group of restless soul beasts all quieted down when Titian's pitch black dragon claw appeared. They laid down on the ground, prostrate, their bodies quivering. Even the emerald swan, the 3-headed scarlet devil mastiff, and the demoni tree went down on one knee. What was the Dragon King's claw? Legend had it that the black dragons were the dragon god's personal bodyguards. After the dragon god separated into the gold dragon and silver dragon, the black dragons protected his 2 great avatars, and even the 9th dragon prince didn't dare to offend the black dragons for nothing. The reason for that was because the dragon god had fondly recalled the black dragon's loyalty, and he gave their leader the title of the Dragon King, and also taught the Dragon King's claw to the black dragons. Only the leaders of each generation of black dragons could inherit this supreme innate ability. The Dragon King's claw wasn't that different from other powerful soul skills to humans. However, it was vastly different for soul beasts. The Dragon King's claw carried the dragon god's aura, and only the most powerful soul beast in the world could possess a skill like this. Once the Dragon King's claw was unleashed, every single soul beast that wasn't similarly blessed by a god had to submit. Otherwise, they would perish and disappear into oblivion in the face of the Dragon King's claw. Titian had never used his Dragon King's claw before today, not even against the evil eye tyrant king. But at this moment, he unleashed his Dragon King's claw, which meant that he was representing the dragon god, and he was representing the black dragons who had protected him. Whoever resisted him, without considering the frightening force that the Dragon King's claw had against soul beasts, would be challenging every single soul beast in the world that possessed dragon blood. All soul beasts that had even a thread of dragon blood were proud of that fact. Dragons had once ruled the Douluo continent. There were sky dragons, there were earth dragons, and there were many species who were relatives of the dragon race. Not even the dragon god himself could count how many different species of soul beasts possessed dragon blood. Therefore, not a single soul beast dared to resist the Dragon King's claw. The bear lord was scared shitless. He truly felt Titian's intense killing intent. Titian, no, Titian, I was wrong. Forgive me, Titian. I promise I will never challenge your authority again. The bear lord wasn't an idiot, after all. He had been alive for several 100,000 years, so what was more important than his life? Titian muttered coldly, this isn't the first time. You've gone behind my back in the past, and I've been too lazy to fault you for all those little things. However, today's matter concerns the great Douluo forest's future, and yet you dare to stir up trouble. Are you really treating me like I don't exist? Titian's Dragon King's claw slashed down from the sky as he spoke, and went straight for the bear lord's head. Mercy, Titian. Baiji couldn't help but exclaim. Titian's claw was going for the bear lord's head, but he slanted his claw and struck the bear lord's shoulder instead. The terrifying force of Titian's Dragon King's claw was on full display. Back then, the Valkyrie Douluo Shenliner had used her full strength, but had only chopped a few strands of hair from the bear lord's forehead with her green flame spear. However, the bear lord's frame seemed like it was made from tofu in front of Titian's Dragon King's claw, and Titian's claw cut into his shoulder just like that. Ugh! A shrill and agonizing howl erupted from the bear lord's mouth, and his muscular body began to tremble like a pendulum. Titian was right in front of the bear lord as he stared into his eyes, which were already full of fear. This will be the last time. If there's a next time, I will use your life to wash away my wrath. He swung his left hand as he spoke, and the bear lord's enormous frame was sent hurtling through the air like a cannon shell. The bear lord crashed through the great Douluo forest, black lightning streaks flickering on his body as if they were about to tear his body apart completely as he flew through the sky. The bear lord continued to howl painfully as tough dark golden hair scattered in all directions in the air, and horrifying ashes appeared one after another on his body. The entire place was deathly quiet. Who would have thought that the beast god, Titian, would lash out against the great Douluo forest's second strongest individual himself? Furthermore, he did so with such brutal force. Titian's Dragon King's claw was so mighty that he suppressed the bear lord to the point that the bear lord couldn't resist at all. Baiji, the Myriad Demon King, and the Scarlet King, along with all the soul beasts unseen, were all prostrate on the ground. Nobody dared to move a muscle. Titian turned around. His expression was ice cold as he said plainly, if anyone dares to go against my words, I will make his spirit burn in hell forever. The soul beasts didn't dare to make a sound. They were just lying there on the ground, quivering, and certain soul beasts who had relatively weaker minds even began to lose their bells. On the other side in the human camp, Elder Sun and Du Busi wore solemn expressions. Dragon King's claw. Detian possessed the Black Dragon's strongest esoteric ability. They weren't sure what would have happened if Detian had hysterically unleashed his full strength that day. Elderson couldn't help but admire Eldermu even more. If Eldermu hadn't used the Golden Tree strength to trigger the Taddy's powers in his body and forcefully imprison Detian, Shrek City would probably have been crushed to a pulp by the beast wave. Detian was a lot stronger than they had imagined. Huo saw everything Detian did. He was now comparing the beast god with other powerful individuals he had met before, and he realized that besides that teacher of his who came from another world, the Calamity Necromancer Electrolux, nobody was as powerful as the beast god. Not even the Darkness Holy Dragon could compare to Detian. If Eldermu was still alive and at his peak condition, he would probably only have a chance against the beast god if he teamed up with the Darkness Holy Dragon. Huo was sure that Detian wasn't a demigod like Electrolux. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to worry about the dangers of his next metamorphosis. Demigods possessed abilities that transcended this world. Of course, Huo couldn't tell what that level was like right now. What happened wasn't your fault. Continue. You can choose any soul beast you want to cooperate with your experiment. Detian turned to Huo and spoke plainly, jolting Huo awake from his fearful thoughts. Huo nodded and glanced at Dai Huobin beside him. Dai Huobin's reaction was drastically different from his. At this moment, the half-brother with whom he shared a father only had excitement in his eyes. Dai Huobin stared at Detian as if he were gazing upon his idol, a pure worship of strength. Thank you for your trust. Huo bowed towards Detian before he walked towards the soul beasts who were representing the great Stardo forest for the experiments. Detian had heavily injured the Bear Lord and was also telling Huo through his actions how important these experiments were and how much emphasis he placed on them. Huo didn't know what the beast god would do if his experiments failed. There were many powerful individuals in the human camp, but from the strength that Detian had just displayed, he didn't even consider these humans a challenge to him. Huo didn't take long to choose a soul beast. He picked another tiger, but he didn't pick from those who were injured. Instead, he picked from the group whose lives were almost at an end due to old age. This tiger was another 10,000-year soul beast, and from its appearance, it had about 20,000 years of cultivation. With Dai Huobin's talent, this tiger was very appropriate for his sixth soul ring. Huo brought this soul beast, whose movements were already a little sluggish, in front of Dai Huobin. This soul beast was a black tiger. Its entire body was pitch black, and there was a white king etched onto its forehead. It was 5 meters long, and even though it was old and infirm, one could tell see its power when it was in its prime. Its skeleton was large, and its forepaws were especially thick and wide. The large-palmed black tiger was a ferocious soul beast that was adept in melee. Tigers were typically highly regarded within the forest, but very few tigers could go further after reaching 100,000 years. It was because tigers were innately domineering and overbearing, and after breaking through 100,000 years, they were likely to threaten the ruler's sovereignty. Detian didn't have to make a move. The Bear Lord and the Myriad Demon King wouldn't allow any tiger to break through 200,000 years. Huo said to this large-palmed black tiger, I can sense that your life energy is about to be exhausted. If you complete your fusion with him, you will exist in another form. You will still be a king, and you can still accompany him into battle, and you will still be able to use your powers as a king. Are you willing to try? This large-palmed black tiger's life had several months more to it, at most. The truth was that it had almost died at the hands of other soul beasts before it came forward today, and by G's kindness had saved it. Huo chose soul beasts who were old and infirm because they hadn't participated in the beast wave, which meant they didn't harbor that much hatred against Shrek City's soul masters. The tiger nodded slowly. Whether it was because of Detian's forceful intimidation or because it wanted to prolong its life, this tiger had no reason to object. Huo continued, that's good. In a moment, I will begin guiding your spiritual imprint to condense. You have to relax and cooperate with me so that I can fuse your innate abilities with your spiritual imprint. You have to do everything willingly, and only after that can I help you complete the contract. The large-palmed black tiger growled, and its spiritual undulations became a little excited. However, it was still relatively calm. Huo turned to Dai Huobin and said, same goes for you. You have to accept this tiger from the bottom of your heart. The fusion after this will be a little painful, so you'll have to hang on. Come. Dai Huobin had always been one of Shrek Academy's individuals who craved strength the most, and even though his tolerance for pain and suffering wasn't as good as Huo, he wasn't that far off due to this desire to strengthen himself. Huo reassured both parties before he stared at the large-palmed black tiger, and the eye of destiny slowly opened on his forehead. He had to use his full strength so that he could ensure success. Spiritual power that wasn't very intense, but gave others a sticky feeling, surged out from Huo and encompassed both Dai Huobin and the tiger. Huo's soul rings, that had transcended ordinary circumstances, rose from beneath his feet and attracted the attention of every single human and soul beast there. A gentle golden light burst out from Huo's rose gold eye of destiny and landed on the tiger's forehead. The tiger quivered once before it just lay there. The tiger's current physical situation meant there was no way it could release a burst of energy or use too much strength, but it was best at relaxing. Huo's formidable spiritual power wasn't something it could fight against. His spiritual power went straight and smoothly, and Huo quickly found its spiritual imprint and spiritual origin. Huo wasn't hasty, gradually releasing amiable will as he guided the tiger to control its own spiritual power at the same time. A faint golden layer of light began to emerge from the tiger's body. Under Huo's guidance, its spiritual origin, its spiritual imprint, and part of its purest soul power began to gather with the mysterious power contained within its innate bloodline. This was a very long process. In the end, he was working on a soul beast that had more than 20,000 years of cultivation. Furthermore, this was the first time that Huo was carrying out a material experiment. He didn't dare to be careless at all, and he did everything meticulously. Nobody knew more about spirits than Huo. Following the improvement of his spiritual power, Huo gained an increasingly deeper understanding of the magic that Electrolux had left behind for him. Juxtaposed with the changes in his martial soul, his ability to control his spiritual power became stronger every time he underwent closed-door cultivation. Both parties watched Huo's actions nervously, and not a single human or soul beast dared to make a sound. They knew that if Huo succeeded, he would make history on the Douluo continent. He would have invented a formidable ability that could be popularized besides soul rings and soul bones. 15 minutes later, the golden light on the tiger's body became stronger, and everyone could see that golden light had begun to surge from its tail. Its body began to decay and darken wherever this golden light passed. Its tail spur lost its shine first, and its hind legs went next. The golden light that was slowly shifting forward became increasingly brilliant. Finally, all that golden light concentrated on the tiger's head and had become so intense that nobody could see its body anymore. Huo raised his left hand as the golden light condensed into a staff that appeared in his grip, and deep and drawn-out incantations could be heard. Those incantations were very bright and clear, but nobody could understand what he was saying. The unfamiliar voice seemed to cause heaven and earth to tremble along with it. A golden hexagon began to take shape on the ground. This hexagon encompassed Huo, Dai Huobin, and the large-palmed black tiger. Huo's body slowly drifted into the air. The eye of the Asura appeared behind his back as a vertical eye. His chanting became sharper and higher in pitch as his seventh soul ring glowed, and the vertical eye behind him burst with light as that light swallowed him entirely, and he transformed into the eye of the Asura. Rose gold sun patterns lit up several hundred meters around him, and intense spiritual undulations caused even the expressions of the beast god, the Taddy Douluo Elderson, and the body Douluo Dubusi to change. Rose gold streaks of light flickered one after another as Dai Huobin and the large-palmed black tiger were pulled closer to one another. A beam descended on Dai Huobin's head, and another pulled on the tiger. Under the effects of Huo's chants, they were finally pulled to within 1 foot of one another. Huo's will guided Dai Huobin, and Dai Huobin slowly raised his right hand and pressed it against the large-palmed black tiger's forehead. Dai Huobin began to chant something, as the tiger also began to make sounds that sounded like whimpering. The hexagon beneath them became brighter and brighter as strange glyphs rose up one after another. These glyphs circled around their bodies as gentle spiritual and soul power undulations orbited them at the same time. Detian, Elderson, and the others who had seen many things and were very knowledgeable could clearly feel the peculiar transformations that were happening between Dai Huobin and that large-palmed black tiger. The process was similar to absorbing soul rings. Dai Huobin was actually absorbing something from the tiger, while the tiger's life energy was continuously slipping away. However, its body was integrating into Dai Huobin's body, creating something that wasn't a soul ring. Both the humans and the soul beasts could tell at this point that Huo's research into spirits had its reason and rationality. Even though the process wasn't yet complete, they knew that Huo's claims weren't empty. The eye of the Asura slowly rose into the sky and retreated as Huo returned to human form and entered his martial soul true body. Huo Yuao had already helped Dai Huobin and the tiger complete the necessary incantations. Now, he would have to wait and see if they could complete their fusion. Huo Yuao took a deep breath and watched everything that was happening in the hexagon nervously. This was an equal contract, so approval from both parties for each other was more important than anything else. If either had any objections during this approval process, the ceremony would fail. At this moment, the benefit of Huo Yuao choosing this old and infirm large-palmed black tiger began to show. The tiger was aging, and if it didn't approve Dai Huobin and couldn't become his spirit, then the tiger would die for sure. These circumstances discreetly raised the tiger's sincerity exponentially. Huo Yuao couldn't guess Dai Huobin's mentality at this moment, so he could only resign things to fate. Seconds and minutes passed as the light inside the hexagon became increasingly strong, while the glyphs became increasingly numerous. Suddenly, all the glyphs paused in midair as the large-palmed black tiger's enormous frame slanted and collapsed inside the hexagon. It had lost every last bit of its life energy. The soul beasts that were prostrate on the ground, especially those who were about to be experimented on, all stood up in unison and stared at Dai Huobin. Fear and anger began to surface in their eyes. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.